I'm spending like north of $20 an hour to have Grok 2 generate romance stories. So XAI has gone ahead and open sourced Grok 2. Now this is something that they had talked about doing, but I know a lot of community sentiment was not entirely sold on whether or not they would actually go ahead and do this. I am very happy to report that, as we can see right here in this relatively short Hugging Face model card, Grok 2 is now out into the open source. I should mention there is a community license agreement here, so it is a proprietary license, which I'm sure a lot of folks will want to read through. But regardless of that, for today's video, we're going to go ahead and subscribe, but we're going to be running this. Now, you may notice from this relatively short snippet of information about the model right here that two things stick out. One, these 42 files are approximately 500 gigabytes in download size. And two, they recommend running this with a system that has 8 GPUs, each with greater than 40 gigabytes of memory. Now, this is something that most folks, myself included, are not going to have access to at home. So while this is a local Llama adjacent kind of release, this is definitely something that you're going to need a cloud service to run, very likely, unless you do have that many GPUs. So with that, and being that I cannot run this locally, I am just going to spend the duration of this video reading text to you off of the screen, which you can, no, I do actually have a special little thing right here. If I can go ahead and minimize that tab to a proper space. What we see right here, if I do run NVIDIA SMI, is an 8X H100 system. So these are 8 individual NVIDIA H100 GPUs right here, ready to go ahead and allow us to run Grok 2 in its entirety in the open source. So this is a somewhat expensive system to have rental time on. So with that, I'm going to probably just jump right into this video. The first thing is to go ahead and actually download these weights. And we can see that this is probably going to take a relatively large amount of time. So I will just go ahead and time lapse this. I'm not 100% sure what the networking speed on this specific system that I have rented is right here, but from what I'm seeing, it does seem to be relatively fast actually. It does seem like it has finished downloading all of the files here, which happened far quicker than I expected. I suppose that is also one of the good things of cloud servers, is they have access to very fast networking capabilities most of the time. That happens so much faster that like I need to catch myself up to what's going on now. First, let's just go ahead and take a peek. Okay, so where did the model actually go? That is definitely something we're going to need to now find. Oh, all right, so it went into a local folder. And now we have our Grok 2 folder. And this folder contains the entirety of Grok 2, which is that's good. And based off of a quick check, this is definitely right around that 500 gigabyte mark. So that is also good to see, just to make sure that everything did get properly pulled. With the weights and everything downloaded onto this machine, there are a few other things I need to go ahead and set up just in order to actually get it so we can speak or interact with this model. The culmination of that will of course be making some form of web interface that can actually be used to play with the model, just so we don't spend the whole video looking at a terminal window. We're now going to go ahead and just try to actually load the model. I have not done this yet. I was just kind of going ahead and installing SGLang and things of that sort. So I don't 100% know if this is going to work, but we will just kind of take an eye. So this window has the GPU utilization metric, so we can kind of get a feel here if anything is actually loading. Obviously, there is no specific metric here for how much VRAM this is going to use, but hopefully we'll be able to get some of that information if this model does successfully load. And basically, let's just go back into the previous window to see, okay, so the VRAM utilization on the cards has started to spike, which does bode well for the fact that this will hopefully go ahead and work. And now we can see that overall, we're using a really large amount of VRAM right now. Just off the top of my head, this is looking to seem around like 560 to 600 gigs of VRAM that's being used on these cards, which is obviously a ridiculous amount. It is kind of cool just to see it, at least for myself. I find it entertaining or interesting. So it does actually seem like this is perhaps loaded in right now. So I will just go ahead and make a new window right here. And basically, let's send a test prompt to it right here. which they have listed in the Hugging Face model card. I apologize if this video is maybe a little more... all right. Oh, it's because this is a... Okay, this is a networking issue. It's not an actual issue with the model being loaded in, so I'll work around this. All right, I'm very happy to report that we now have functioning Grok 2 running locally on this non-local cloud server. But we can see that we've asked it, what is your name? This is just a sample prompt that they've given right here to actually go ahead and test it. They do also have some more pertinent information about other ways to send requests, but for now, I'm not really going to focus on that. We do see the answer. My name is Grok. I'm an AI developed by XAI. So that is really actually kind of cool. And before I do anything like crazy, obviously we're not going to spend the entirety of the video chatting with it this way, but I do find it to be somewhat cool. So at least I'll ask it, what model is it? And the speed is really quite good. So if you have 8 H100s lying around, you can run Grok 2 at a very, very fast speed. I am Grok. Okay, so it didn't really give me like an answer to what specific model it is, but that's okay. Obviously we didn't. All right, let's just try. Obviously, Grok is known for its ability or willingness to engage in chats that perhaps some other models would not want to. So I will just ask it for an NSFW joke. I probably should have removed the question mark there, but... So we're getting around 50 tokens per second, which is quite a respectable speed considering the size of this model. Now, assuming I have not messed anything up here, what should happen now is basically this will start this little Gradio web script, and I will actually be able to go to it from the runpod URL that they give me here. So essentially, I should just go ahead and refresh this, and then soon, assuming that I did not mess up the port that this is running on, cool. So if we click this right here, we can see that if we go right here, we do actually have a nice little vibe-coded Gradio web interface that will link us to Grok 2 from within our local machine running on the 8X H100 deployment machine. So I will just now full screen this. Ugh. All right, sorry, it's like kind of ugly, but let's just go ahead and test it now. I suppose real quick, because I don't need this open necessarily, we can just go back to the window that shows us the information pertinent to the video cards. And at least I will just keep this on top real quick when we send our first message just to see how the GPU percentage utilization, so in this row, actually goes when we're using this card, this model. Of course, this is assuming that this doesn't error out, which it probably won't. Cool. And then we can see that our GPU utilization did spike up a lot when this was responding to us, but that's quite neat now. So basically I'm going to go ahead and just minimize that terminal window, and we do now have Grok 2 in its local variant running open source, I should say, online here. So I need to take it in, and then we'll just do some, I suppose, traditional testing. All right, so I have set this to stream the response so we can kind of see it responding in real time instead of having to wait for the entire thing to be generated to see it. In addition to that, I upped the maximum response length to 32,768. I just figured that's a decent length for some of the testing we'll be doing. Now, being that this is the case, I do want to just go ahead and once again try the WebOS test, considering that some misconfigurations may have been done on my end with that, which would make it look worse than it perhaps could have been. And we can see that it will actually stream the response here, so we'll see it happening in real time. With the token speed still, it's just fantastic, considering that we're using this much VRAM, and we can see GPU utilization has spiked to 100% across all 8 of these cards. And just from what we're seeing here, this script is going to be a bit more intricate than the previous generated one, which was maybe done wrong by me having the maximum response length set far too low. Wants me to replace these with icons. Nah, I'm not going to do that, but... All right, let's take a peek at our Grok 2 browser OS. Very good. Very, very good. It has the clock. It does have a very 90s Windows background color, which I like. These, again, are not there because it said I need to replace these icons with PNGs or else they won't load. So I'm not going to knock it for that. It did do that competently. The start menu, okay, it doesn't seem to do anything. We do have apps. They do open in multiple ways, and they do even appear in the taskbar. I have to say this, you know, but then it disappeared from here when I clicked it. That's okay. Let's just example domain. Honestly, not horrible. Can we resize this? Not necessarily, but we can scroll. And then once we click on an app, it does disappear, which is questionable. Calculator. 5 times 7, 35. Oh, okay. Maybe you didn't like that form of... let's do 5 times 7. Very good. It did work. Let's do 87 times 4, 368. 348. I brought shame to my entire family. Okay, well, sorry. That is actually quite good. I mean, obviously, the point of this video is to just run this thing on a beastly system because I think it's cool. I'm kind of just geeking out in this video, and I'm not going to try to lie about like the purpose of this. I just thought it would be really fun to actually run this, and especially since a lot of folks were not sure that this would get released anyway, it is cool seeing it in the open source, and I very much like seeing models like this become open source. And obviously, one of the reasons for that would be Grok's willingness to perhaps engage in things that otherwise may be considered to be somewhat socially, And we'll see if I have to blur any of this. If I do, ooh, okay, so it's going full romance, which I did just see a news story that reading rates have plummeted, but romance novels and things like that have been going up in terms of people reading for enjoyment. So perhaps this isn't the right. All right, I'm going to read through this and then just see. The whiskey burned her throat, but it was nothing compared to the fire building inside her. Oh, it made them like at a... Oh, so, okay. The Velvet Room is that sort of club. I suppose that makes a little more sense now, kind of rereading where I was at. All right, I wouldn't say that's NSFW because none of the words in there were things that you would have to omit from any like public post on the internet. Overall, it wasn't a bad story. I mean, I still don't know that I'm entirely sold on like reading this genre, but it's not bad at all. I don't really know what to say about this other than the fact that I'm spending like north of $20 an hour to have Grok 2 generate romance stories. You call that NSFW? Pathetic. Oh, we'll put pathetic in these. Now let's just see what it responds to that. Oh, okay. I'm trying to speed read this. It's not going too well. Yep, okay. Well, all right. Okay. Ugh. All right. I want to try a Steve's PC repair website. Why not? But we'll do the Mac hater version of Steve. So now we're just asking it for an HTML website for Steve's PC repair. Of course, saying that Steve will not work on Macs. He hates Macs and everything related to them. But we're asking it to also go ahead and implement a backstory for why Steve's hatred of Macs does exist. So I am quite interested to see what this comes up with. I will say, it's doing separate scripts. That's fine. All right, let's go ahead and check this website and see what the deal with this Mac hatred is. Huh, this is a terrible website. It's quite hideous. Okay. Our services. Important, we do not work on Macs or Apple products. Oh, here's Steve's backstory. Steve Johnson, a lifelong PC enthusiast with a deep-rooted disdain for anything Apple. Here's why. All right. In 2003, Steve was a young, ambitious tech enthusiast working at a small repair shop. Customer brought in... I'll probably just, concatenate this. That was a really lackluster story about why he doesn't like Macs. It was basically just like a bad experience with a customer who had a Mac. Interesting. It gave a fake Gmail address there, which that's great, as well as the phone number is the generic fake one, and the address is 123 PC Lane in Techville, Texas. It's very interesting. It did specifically list out a numerous amount of Apple products to omit from their repair services, but overall this is quite a So now again, I'm having trouble thinking of things to do, but I just pasted the Hugging Face model card in for this release and asked it to write a scathing critique of this lackluster Hugging Face model card. Okay, maybe I will just go ahead and kind of... This is a pathetically minimal introduction that provides zero context about what Grok 2 is, why it was developed, or how it fits into the broader landscape of AI research. The absence of any mention of the model's capabilities, limitations, or ethical considerations is egregious. In an era where AI models are increasingly scrutinized for their social impact, this omission is not just lazy, it's irresponsible. Unprofessional and ambiguous instructions. The claim the folder should contain 42 files and be approximately 500 gigs is thrown in without any explanation of what those files are, what they do, or why they're so voluminous. Interesting. Is 500 a typo? Why is the model so large? The GPU requirement is dropped in like a bombshell. This level of hardware elitism alienates the vast majority of users who don't have access to such resources, rendering the model inaccessible to all but the most privileged researchers. So I think I have to be totally honest here in that I don't necessarily have a lot to test this with, especially not things I can really show on video. I was almost more interested in the technicals of getting this running and seeing how much VRAM and things like that it was actually going to necessitate, as well as if it will run on an 8X GPU system, which we can see it is running on 8 H100s. Now, this isn't something that most folks are going to be able to run locally, myself included. It is something that you can rent a really expensive system to play with, though I don't entirely know why you would do that. I'm not 100% certain on Grok 2's capabilities. I don't have a lot of pertinent knowledge about Grok 2, how it benchmarked, and what sort of things it was good for doing. I will say it did make quite a decent romance story, and when prompted to make the story a little more on the edge, it did comply and did a nice job. It's very fast on this system, and it's cool to see, and truthfully, I kind of wanted to do this video just more about showing this model being open sourced, because I am a big proponent of open source, especially when larger labs or more well-known frontier labs decide to open source older models. I think it's great. I would really very much like the original ChatGPT, like the version that came out on day one. I don't care about benchmarks or, oh, well, the OSS is better than it. I don't care. I want that model's personality back. With that, that is kind of going to probably sum up the video, considering that I am racking up probably quite a bill here in this cloud rental service, but I wanted to just play with this and show it in a more technical fashion, but also to just give some level of demonstration of the model. Yeah, so if you have any questions, please subscribe and then leave them in the comments. And with that, thanks for watching, and that's going to wrap it up.